fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Kamen Rider Gavv Poppin Gummy form from the brand new Kamen Rider action figure line from Bandai. So I guess that's the official name of this line. It just says Kamen Rider action figure. A little on the nose, but here we go. Front of the packaging I think looks pretty good. You got Gavv very prominent here, zoomed in on the left, and then kind of a full body shot of the figure here on the right. Up here, just the eyes. I think that's a pretty cool pick. Kamen Rider Gavv Poppin Gummy form. Not really anything going on the bottom or on this side. Over here is kind of a cool shot where it shows you like the skeletal structure with the joints and everything. So it looks like it should be pretty well articulated. And then the contents down here, of course, we have the figure. Looks like in total we're getting 5 hands. So kind of an open hand set, a closed fist set, and then one grasping hand so he can hold the sword, which is also included. And then over here on the back, just some cool poses of the figure. Looks pretty neat. I'm excited for it. Side note, you might be wondering why I'm starting with the action figure. I technically don't have the belt yet. I'm hoping very, very much that that comes in tomorrow, and if it does, I'll absolutely be doing a video on the belt, and then we can do all of the other Gochizo and other things that need the belt to function. So let's go ahead, let's get this figure out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. So here is Kamen Rider Gavv Poppin Gummy form. It's a pretty solid figure. Honestly, this kind of feels like Figuarts Light almost. It's kind of Figuarts-esque, but obviously not nearly as detailed. But it boasts a lot of articulation. I think the box says that it has 38 points of articulation. I mean, you can see right off the bat this giant beefy sword. Now, it is very nicely detailed and molded, but unfortunately it is not painted. But it's huge. I mean, honestly, it's got a decent amount of weight to it. It's a pretty thick chunk of plastic, and like I said, you can see all the detailing there. It would have been nice if it got a little bit of paint, but unfortunately just cast in this black plastic here. Now right now I have a gripping hand and an open hand, but you also get a closed fist set of hands, and then of course we have the other open hand, which it actually comes with both of these on in the box. I popped this one out to pop on the grasping hand. It's very simple. You just pop them right out. You can see it's just a tiny little ball joint there. And then you can just go ahead and pop this one right in. Very, very simple. I kind of like the other one though, so I'm going to put this one back on. But yeah, very easy to change out the hands. The detailing I think looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get into it here. So nice paint here on the head. I think that looks pretty good. All of the paint here on the chest and the shoulders. You can see the gradient, kind of the purple into the blue. And then down here into the yellow. The driver, I think, looks pretty good. I don't know. I feel like the rest of this is your normal plastic, but the top part of the driver is like a softer kind of plastic. And you can see the texture there. It almost feels like it's sticky. I don't think it is, though, because it doesn't leave my fingers sticky afterwards. But it has kind of a sticky quality to it. I don't know. I guess it's just made out of a different kind of plastic. It's very strange. But the detailing looks good. You have the little holder here on the side with a Gochizo in there. The paint on the belt goes all the way around, which is greatly appreciated. All of this silver paint on kind of the crotch and the inside of the thighs look good. Down here on the kneecaps, again, you have the blue into the purple into the yellow gradient on the shin pieces there. Some silver on the tops of the feet. Here on the arm gauntlets as well. So I think the paint applications really look sharp. I think they did a really nice job with that. Even have the silver here around the collar going around to the back. Of course, the shoulder pads are fully painted. Now, articulation, like I said, the box boasts 38 points of articulation. So there's a ball joint at the base of the skull as well as the base of the neck. So you can kind of do like this kind of movement. So that can look down, look up, you can turn side to side, you can tilt side to side. Really nice range of motion there. The shoulder pads can kind of move up and down a little bit. You have a butterfly joint, so you can see how this kind of comes in like that. You can move this all the way out to the side, and this is on kind of a hinge, very similar to kind of how Soto does it. So that can lift up. So that way you can kind of bring this up, and then it'll kind of go back where it's supposed to. But then when you want to move this around, you know, everything will kind of get out of the way for you to do so, which is nice. You have a bicep swivel there. You have a nice hinge in the elbow, as well as a swivel below and above. Now, I will say in the box, these things are kind of turned around, and it's a little difficult to get them to line up. But you do have a swivel directly above and below that shoulder joint. And then as we saw, the hands are kind of like tiny little ball joints, as we saw when we popped them out. You have a ball joint here in the torso as well as at the waist. You can kick pretty far forward at the hip and pretty far out to the side. You can kind of see how this kind of like, it looks like it moves in and out, but I can't seem to push it back in. I don't know. I don't know if the ball joint is just naturally like that. I can't seem to move. You can kind of see. I wonder if I could actually just pop this off. I don't want to break it, but I don't want to break it. But it does seem like there's a little bit of movement in and out. But there's actually a ball joint that the hip is connected to, and then there's a thigh swivel right underneath that. I would say over 90 degrees in the knee, and then you have kind of a ball joint down here in the ankle. Nothing in the toes or anything like that. But yeah, you can get some pretty good poses with this. You can kind of bring this in and have him grab the driver. I think that works really well. He can use this hand to hit the button on the side. I think that's kind of cool as well. Unfortunately, the Gochizo in there is not painted. Would have been nice, but like I said, this is kind of a budget figure art type figure. Like, it's trying to be that, but also has a budget it has to adhere to. That's why the details are not all quite there, but honestly, I think this is a pretty solid figure. I think the paint applications are pretty solid. I think the driver looks good. You have the giant sword here. You have the couple interchangeable hands. You know, nothing crazy. Not a ridiculous number of options, but enough. I feel like you have the options you want. The open set for posing, the fists for punching, the hand for grasping the weapon. I feel like that's all really there. You can get off some pretty cool poses here. Let's see if I can get this to actually rest on. Yeah, there, that's close enough. But yeah, I think he looks good. I really do. Not what I was expecting. I was expecting some kind of gimmick line or something like that, but they're just doing action figures now. They're just doing a fairly solid action figure. Now, for size comparison, this guy's pretty huge. So just to throw a couple things out there, this is a Dragon Ball Z Evolve figure, which is about 5 inches tall. So you can see he's definitely taller than that. Here is a 6-inch Marvel Legends figure. Now, I do have the lizard in kind of a squatting pose, so he could probably be a little taller. Here is the Poppin Gummy vinyl figure, to give you a little bit of size comparison there. What else do we have? Here is a deluxe class Transformers 1 Optimus Prime, which I would say is probably about 5 inches. Anything else of note? I have some 4-inch figures, but I don't really think that's going to do much for you. Here, this will work. This is a Voyager class Transformer. So there's Tarn. Let me zoom out here a little bit. So just to give you an idea, I would say he's probably 6 inches, maybe slightly more than 6 inches, but I'd say, just say it's 6 inches. So if you wanted something to put next to maybe Lightning Collection figures, this could work, I think. I think this is a pretty solid 6-inch action figure that could definitely scale with some other things that you might have. Yeah, the scale is, like I said, I personally would like a 4-inch figure, but they have Soto for that, so that's already kind of being taken care of. And I'm glad that they're not 5-inch, because I don't really collect a lot of 5-inch stuff, so I think 6 inches was probably the way to go here. I think it allowed them to put a little bit more budget into it. Yeah, I think this is a good scale for this. I think this is a really solid figure. Honestly, not what I was expecting. I have to be honest, I didn't really know what to expect going into this, but I think it's a really solid 6-inch figure. I think the paint applications are there. The articulation is definitely there. The accessory, yes, could use some more detail. It's just the sword cast in the black plastic. But the details are there. If you wanted to try your hand at painting it yourself, you definitely could. I just think it's kind of interesting that I guess maybe they're seeing all the success of all the 6-inch figure brands like, you know, Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified and things that have been around, and maybe they're just kind of deciding to get into that game, because that's really what this feels like. This feels like an American 6-inch figure. Now, they've been doing figure arts for years. Figure arts, they range in size depending on the character, but I feel like they usually trend a little bit smaller. maybe they're around 6 inches, maybe somewhere between 5 and 6. But with Kamen Rider, if it's not a figure art or it's not Soto, usually it's some kind of gimmick line that tends to be around 5 inches, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller. And there's some kind of like interchangeable armor gimmick or something like that. This is just a solid, straight up 6-inch action figure that's pretty good. So this to me is like a budget figure art. I feel like that's definitely what they're going for. If I remember correctly, this was somewhere in the area of like $25 to $30, which is kind of what we pay for 6-inch figures here. Now again, that's before shipping and everything like that. But still, I think this is a pretty solid 6-inch action figure. Like I said, if you have some Lightning Collection or other, you know, Power Ranger, Sentai 6-inch figures, I think this could definitely scale well with those. Maybe even scale decently with those Figurize Kamen Rider models they did. Or maybe are still doing. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to that, I'll have to admit. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. Like I said, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting some kind of gimmick line because that's kind of what they've been doing. But when we look back, with the exception of Geets, because that line, you know, the Revolve Change figure line did fairly well. They did move it almost exclusively to Premium Bandai after like the first 2 or 3 releases, but it kept going. It must have been doing well. The Revice line did not do well. I don't think the Gachard line did very well because that, you know, was only around for, I think they got 3 or 4 releases tops. So maybe they're saying, forget the gimmicks, just make a solid 6-inch action figure. And I'm kind of here for it, even though it's not my preferred scale, like I said. But if I want 4-inch figures, I have Soto for that. I'm not a big fan of stickers, so you know me there. But this is a solid figure. I know I keep saying it, but I'm kind of blown away. Not that they can't make solid figures, but like I said, this just feels like figure arts on a budget. That's what it really feels like to me. So if you like figure art type figures, but you want to pay about half the price, then this is for you. It's not nearly as detailed as a figure art, but again, it's half the price. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.